fearless pioneer.
Yo, what's going on guys? EJ here, bringing in another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. Today guys, you better strap yourselves in because we've got a long one. We're going to be breaking down everything which is going to get you guys ready for the brand new version of 2.0 Lord of the Rings Rise to War that's going to be implemented into the game very soon. This is not going to be like any ranting and raving that. This is going to be actual facts based on real evidence and that from talking to the developers and doing a lot of research with myself and other people via the PvE, which I must in test, is only a complete test guys and will not be the final product of the game. I would also like to stick up for all those people that are saying bad things and that, like, oh, the game's going to die and that like that. I must attest that the developers are actually actively listening and taking so much things into consideration. The implementation of what these changes are for, I have been told, the sole reason is because they want to bring new people into the game, because obviously the more player base and more people play in the game, the more they can invest into the game and make a more commitment and do more things that the community wants to. For example, we had a little talk about possibly things in the future of like competitive and casual servers, for example. I'm also in this video going to break down things on why they're changing things like to the formation system, and that's going to be solely based on because of the meta that has become with commanders and how people are just solely just using the same commanders over and over and just squashing people. So they're going to try. It's more about balancing the game. And yeah, obviously they want to cater for the new people coming in, but they don't want to ruin the game for other people as well that have been playing and put a lot of time and commitment into the game. So a lot of things that we do talk about in today's video will be solely based a lot on the PvE, but do note a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about are definitely specified of only a test and are subject to change, which I have spoke to the developers and they're actively working on things which you can see in the PvE, which will be changed and fixed for the better. So without further ado guys, we're going to get into the video. There's a lot, we're going to be breaking down absolutely everything. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? So guys, we're going to start with the elephant in the room and start off with the biggest change, which is formations. Now, we're going to be talking about why formations are being implemented into the game, as well as showing you how they all work and all aspects of the formation system. So first off, why are formations being put into the game? So from the developers, they say that it's because there has been a certain meta that has been built with certain commanders just being used. Now, they have showed a lot of data and stuff to back this up, which I have seen. And it shows that there is many commanders that are not even being used or utilized at all. So the formation system, where you'll be able to use 4 commanders in one battle, is going to be completely different because it wants to bring in the ability of that stopping of the meta of just using the same commanders and trying to bring a more of a versatility to all commanders. So all commanders are going to be like more equal, and so more commanders can get used and not underutilized and stuff like that. So it's more of a balancing along those lines. So now let's go into an actual formation, show you how it all works and everything like that, and break down all the aspects of a formation. So all you have to do is go over into your army section, and this is where you're going to be building your formation. Now, a formation will be made up of 4 commanders and 4 troop types. Now, there is a lot of aspects that go into building a formation, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, but we'll just stick to the basics first. So first off, the first commander you place, as you can see up the top here, it would say number 1. This is going to be your leading commander, who is going to be in charge of running that formation and marching that formation around. So for example, I'm going to place my Isildur here as such. Once you placed him, you will then have to go across and then assign a troop to him. Now, with choosing what troops you want to use, it's going to be working a lot with whether you want a full army size, because there is now unit size countering, which we will talk about further on in the video, as well as you want to look at your commander's skilling system to see if they work certainly really good. For example, like Elrond or someone like that who's going to work really good with elves. where, for example, we have our Asildel here, who works really good with like manish units or evil men. If I place either of those commanders here, for example, we'll just put some of these sharpshooters here, for example, and then we click on there like such. Now, people will get oftenly confused here because there's 3 other sections. At first, you will have to unlock more of these sections by leveling up your barracks. Now, as you can see, if you click on this one, you think, oh, well, this will be number 2. As you can see, this is going to be your number 4th commander in your formation. So, if you want to have your strongest commander as a leader, and then go down from your strongest to the weakest, you will then click on this section here, which is going to be your number 2 commander. So, for example, I'll place in my Gandalf the White here. And once I've placed him, I'll just put a troop that he works with. Now, this can also be implemented as well with a thing called the Power of the Bloodline, which we will talk about more when we go into the commander breakdown. Basically, if you use a certain troop that commander's good with, you're going to get a buff on that army troop type. So he's really good with manish units, for example. So we'll just throw some man units here. I'm very low on units at the moment. And then if we want someone in the 3rd ability here, or the 3rd spot of the formation, I solely think that this is the best spot to put your supporting commander, who I use Gandalf the Grey, that has like good healing abilities and stuff like that. And then I throw on like a nice unit that usually has like nice defense, or something like a Swan Knight and that if you're using them, which can deter damage to them, or even like the T3 Trolls, for example, which I got here, which work really good. We will talk more about troop abilities and that later on. And then our 4th is going to be like such. We just throw in whoever we want. Dane. So, and then we just throw exactly the same. And then you're going to have your entire formation. Now, in this formation section here, you're going to have certain abilities. So, you're going to have this top ability here, which I can't click at the moment. But this is going to be your healing system. So, how the healing system works, guys, your commanders now have HP. Now, this HP bar is going to play very important effects in a battle. For example, with your leader's health bar, this is going to be implemented so if he runs out of the full HP, not only will he be able to attack in that battle, he will not also be able to lead the army around on the map, and there will be a cooldown period for that. Now, for example, let's say that your leader's HP bar is still not empty, but other commanders are emptied. For example, let's say that my Gandalf the Grey, for example's HP bar completely runs out. If you get into another battle without healing him, you're still going to fight, your armies are going to still battle, so the troops, but your commander skills will not be activated by that commander. So that's how the commander HP system works. We'll talk a little bit more about that and how that is working when we get to the commander section of the video. And then this part here is basically your reinforcement button down here, this yellow one. It's going to top up your troops. Now, at the moment in the PvE, the only place that you can do this is a Fellowship Fortress, your main settlement, and a fort. It does not work on ruins as of yet. Whether that's going to be a change implemented into the game, I don't know. And yeah, if you're just out on a tile, you can't reinforce. Also, with the healing system, it's only in a fort or in a fortress and that, like I just said. So you only can heal there. You can't heal out in the battle area as well. So it works the same as the reinforcement system. The only thing that is frustrating at the moment, whether it's going to be subject to change, you cannot rotate and change troops unless you go all the way back to the settlement. I would like to see a change where that could be at least possibly done in a fort, for example, or a fortress, because sometimes your base could be quite far away from a battle area. So yeah, hopefully that could be a change that could be implemented into the game. So the other things you just need to know, with the formation system, you will have a total amount of siege. If we have a look at this system here, you can see all of your commander's HP bars, all of your troops, and you will also see this button here, which is unit sizing, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. You will see your total siege, your army speed, which really solely works on which troops that you're running, and then your total attack strength, which is up here For example, mine is 106,000. Up here, this is basically called your supply. This is the amount of troops that you can run. So, for example, the more you level your commanders up, the more command and supply you're going to get. And basically, this is like, so at maximum at level 50s, you're going to have 2,000 of each troop for a total supply of 8,000. Okay, guys, so we're going to branch out a bit more now. So with formations as well, I said that there is a lot more aspects to it on how to build a formation when choosing your commanders. So you could do a build, for example, of using like Dane, for example, and using other like commanders like Ori, or we could be using like Gimli, and building a full formation of dwarf commanders and units, so you get that full unity. Now, another thing that is going to come into effect is going to be the unit size system. So let's go have a look at that, shall we? So as you can see here, guys, this is the unit size countering system. So it says here, damage dealt to counter targets is increased. The formation commander determines the countering relationship according to the physique of the soldiers in the formation. So as you can see, there are three sizes here. There is small, which is going to be the 3 symbol here. And then you are going to have large and medium. So it shows that small units are going to be countering large units. Large units will counter medium, and medium will counter small units. So this will also play a key effect in your formation and in your battles. So now we're going to move into the commanders, because this is also a big part which makes up the entire formation system. There's going to be certain skills and abilities in that here that implements in making a formation and how you should build a formation. So it's going to be implemented through this whole commander system. So we're going to use my Seal Dog, because it's my favorite, as an example. So you're going to see there's a lot of different things here now. As you can see, we have the leadership with the base value of 1,000. And then a bonus of 1,000 because I am level 50, and we're going to be seeing our commander level, which we'll talk about more in a moment. But I want to first bring you down to these new levels and effects here. As you can see, we have our damage. As you can see, it determines the ability to reflect all types of damage in a battle. We then have HP. This is solely based on your commander's HP, on how much HP they will have in the battle. And it determines the total amount of damage a unit can take as well. So it's quite very nice and useful there. And then we have command. Now, as you can see, command increase the attack and defense of the commander's formation. So command can be very useful with using certain commanders that are very good at increasing your unit strength and attack. Where, for example, it's not as relative to commanders such as Dane, who is going to do a lot of physical commander damage. You will then see your skills or points down here, which are kind of exactly the same, but they're going to implement into the battle as well. So you have your attack strength, which affects the ability to inflict physical damage, which is really good for attacking commanders. And then we have the defense, which affects the ability to resist physical damage. We then have our focus, which affects a commander's focus, burn, and poison damage dealt, and reduces the amount of damage they take from the aforementioned damage types. And then we have speed, which is going to affect the order in which units move in battle. Also, a big thing, which we will talk more about later on, is the gear. Gear is going to make a huge difference in your formation, so you want to definitely get a very nice symmetry on what gear to use with certain commanders, but I will do that and talk more about that in the full gear breakdown and stuff like that later on. Obviously, the last part is going to be commander skilling and the power of the bloodline ability. So with commander skilling, you're going to be looking at what kind of skills. For example, you can see that men and evil men units are going to have a really good effect with Isildur, so it's really good. And then you can see he's got other skills in that, which also affect the entire formations. For example, like this skill of Great King, it from round 3 onward, the attack of allied formations plus 15. So this is going to work on 2 formations, not just 1. So you want to be going in and looking at different commanders and their skills and seeing which are going to work best for you with your amount of commanders that you have, what kind of setup you have, like for all dwarves, for example. So you want to use all commanders that are going to buff like dwarven units, for example. And the other big thing is the power of the bloodline that I talked about a little bit. This is going to give that unit attack and defense plus a certain amount of how many points you put in. For example, I put a point in here. It's going to put it up. And it's going to basically work with either men, elves, dwarves, and hobbits, for example, here on a seal door. And this is going to affect your total ability and strength for the units in that formation, but in particularly for that commander's formation. So all 4 can have this ability. If you have like all 4 men units in that, this is going to be stacking up very nicely in a formation. And that's basically the formation breakdown of how the system is going to work, guys. It's just all implemented into the one system. So it's going to be a lot of touchy and feely like that, and doing a lot of testing to work out what commanders work together really good with certain units and power of the bloodline. So it's all about finding that symmetry there, guys, in a formation. Alright guys, so now we're going to talk more about the commanders and the new ascension rarity system that has been added into the game. So in the last section with formations, we did already touch on some of these points, so I'll just quickly go over it. So you can see that we now have a new commander leveling system, which basically is your rarity system and ascension system, which we'll talk about in just 2 seconds. We're going to have 3 different rarities. We now have our commander damage, which basically is the amount of damage that we can do of all types of damage. The HP, which is going to affect your unit's HP, can take the amount of damage taken, as well as your commander's HP bar. If you want to know more information about that, I touched on it in the start of the video. And then command, which basically increases the attack and defense of a commander's formation. We then have our normal skills here that we usually have of attack, defense, focus, and speed. I don't really need to go too much into that. This section is more based on the commander's skilling of how it works with formations and how the new ascension system works. So basically, the new ascension system is going to have 3 levels. Our first base level is going to be called Mighty. Now this is going to work from respect 1 to 5. Now once your commander reaches respect 5, you are going to have the ability to be able to ascend, which you can see here that I have the ability here saying awaiting ascension here on my Faramir. Now, if he was only a mighty level at respect level 5, it would be the exact same here, and he would have the ability to ascend and become an epic commander, which is the next level up. Now, epic is going to go from respect level 5 to respect level 10, guys. So now, as you can see with the Faramir, he is respect level 10 and is currently awaiting ascension. So basically, when he reaches that respect level 10, he can then ascend and become a new level, which is going to be called legendary. Now, to do these ascensions as well, it is going to take a certain amount of commander respect items to be able to do so. Now, don't be worried if you are been playing the PBE and it is currently locked. This system is currently locked, so you're not being able to have the ability to be able to ascend and unlock your unique equipment, which we will talk about in just a moment, because there is a new system on being able to unlock the unique equipment, and it's a bit harder now because the unique equipment is very strong. So yeah, the next level after you ascend is going to be legendary. So when you get to the legendary level, you're going to be respect level 10. As you can see, my Galadriel is legendary already because the T3s and that are still going to be legendary. It's still going to be the same like that, T1, 2, 3. But the T1s and T2s are going to have the ability to eventually level up to the legendary. And then guys, once you pass the level of respect level 15, going from level 16 respect up to R25 respect, you are going to be able to unlock the ability. And the final level, guys, is going to be called Zenith or Zenith. And basically this is going to work from commander respect levels 16 to R25. And basically it's going to give you a lot more skill points, because this leveling system is now going to imply on how many skill points you have to use on your commander's skill points, as well as power of the bloodline. I'm now going to pull up some information and talk more about that and go into the data of that. So the 3 changes are going to be as such. So the first thing is commander level cap. Now this ain't too much effective, as you can see. From respect level to level 2, there's just going to be a cap from level 30 to level 50 of your commander. Most people have all their commanders past level 2, and it's not too hard to get commanders past level 2 respect. So that's not too bad of a problem there. When we have the commander stats. So rarity ascension, some of the commander's stats will be upgraded with each ascension. So when you go from mighty to epic, then epic to legendary, each time you do that, you're going to get commander stats buffs. Also, when you reach the zenith level, from level 2 to 10, which is basically respect level 16 to 25, some of the commander stats will be upgraded for each level. So it's going to be a really beneficial thing. If you're a very high respect, you're going to get a lot more stat buffs as well. And then the last thing is the skill point allocation on how it works with the new respect leveling system. So as you can see, for level 1 to level 4, you gain 2 skill points for each level. At respect level 5, you gain 5 skill points. And then at respect level 6 to 9, you gain 2 skill points for each level. At respect 10, you get another 5 skill points. At respect 11 to 14, you gain 1 skill point for each level. And then respect 15, you get another bonus of 5 skill points. And then from the zenith levels, which I talked about from 16 to R25, so zenith level 1 to 10, you will gain an additional 1 skill point for each level on your commanders. And just touching on the unique equipment of the commander, we're going to talk more about this in depth in the commander gearing system next section of the video. Basically, guys, how it works is with the new leveling system and ascension, it's still going to be the same. It's just going to be a little bit harder because from a T1, you're going to have to get all the way up to a legendary level. So you're going to have to build up all your way to there. If you've got a commander that was like a T3 and was respect level 10, then you're going to have that unlocked already in the PBE and stuff. So it's just going to be a little bit harder to obtain for the lower level tiers of the mighty commanders in that building up, but you will have the ability to unlock those. Now with the commander skilling system, there's no longer sub skills, so you're just going to have your amount of 4 skills here. Now with picking your commanders, you want to know what their skills do. And with the formation that we talked about in the formation section of the start of the video, it's very important because with your commander's HP, once they run out, they're not going to be able to use these abilities, but these abilities are going to help you guys out a lot in the battle because they're not only just going to affect like doing the damage to commanders and other units now, they're going to be able to attack multiple different formations within the battle. So as you can see, for example, this High King skill on a Gilgalad, for the first 5 rounds, attack and defense of 11 units in 3 allied formations are increased by 18. So, as you can see, that it affects 3 formations, but at a max level, it is going to work on all 4 formations. So then that's how it implies on your units that you're using. So if you're using a full Elvish unit formation, and you're using all Elven commanders, and they have the same kind of skill implications that this has, it's going to work really well and buff your army an absolute lot. Whereas for other commanders like such, if we go look at Dane, he doesn't focus that much on the aspect of the troop buffing effects, but more on commander damage. So it's very important that if you're using a very strong commander damage commander like Dane, that you have a supportive commander that can draw damage away from Dane and his army, so then he can do more damage and not lose his HP over time in the battle. And that's basically how the new skilling system works. It's going to be affecting whether it's going to be a good commander that does really good physical damage, or it's going to be a commander that is going to be buffing not one, but multiple formations in that battle. Okay guys, so our next section is going to be solely focused on the new gear changes and commander gear changes. So the first thing I want to state off is you're not going to be losing your ability to keep your equipment as such. You will be able to keep your old equipment with the sub skills that they have, for example, like Frenzy and stuff like that. So don't worry, you will not be able to lose that gear. You will still be able to use it. It will go into the new version 2 as exactly the same strengthened and refined level. There's also going to be a couple of little changes to the old gear as well. For example, instead of like attack, it's going to be a new system, which I'm going to show you on the gear and that now. So if I go to this gear right now, for example, we have this Axe of Khazad Dûm. As you can see, that is a skill on there, which is commander damage and commander attack. Now, these are going to affect those skills that I showed you before on your commander. As you can see, I've popped it up on the screen right now. So you're going to be able to buff certain things like commander damage, attack, and command, for example. So with Axe of Khazad Dûm, it's really good. It's going to increase your commander's damage and your commander's attack. So, and I'll show you another few examples. So we have other gear, for example, here, which also increases the commander's focus on this blazing tongue. And then, as you can see, with this carved dragon tooth, we have things like where it increases the commander's defense and unit HP, as well as commander's command, which is basically the command stat is going to increase the attack and defense of all your units in that one formation battle. So that's how it's going to work. So the old equipment, so if you've got like example, like an old Axe of Khazad Dûm with might, the only thing that's going to change is it's going to change to like commander attack and damage and such. But you're still going to keep your sub skills. Now with the skilling system, how that works is there's going to be new skills involved. So let's go in and have a look at my actual commanders that I have built for a better perspective of it. So first off, we will look at my Isildur here, because there is going to be two types. There is going to be a 2 level and a 4 level. So as you can see, this is a 2 level skill where it says here, might. This formation's physical damage dealt plus 10. So these 2 level abilities, which at the moment is might and safeguard in the game, is only going to affect that formation, but it increases the physical damage dealt plus 10%. These could possibly go up. It's all vice versa of whether there's going to be buffs and stuff like that, but that's currently how it's working at the moment. Then, if we go to another commander, for example, we're going to go to my Gandalf the White here. You can see that I have all 4 of the gear stats in Unity. So as you can see, for this formation, so it's going to affect that formation, the damage received is going to be reduced by 3% each round. Now there is going to be multiple effects. For example, if we go to another one of my commanders here, we can go to, let's see, my Gandalf the Grey. We have an effect of like thick armor, which for this formation, it increases their defense plus 20. But for example, with the gear and that, you can see the commander HP, focus, defense, and command. That's going to be doing all the same kind of buffs that we talked about before. And then there's a lot of other ones. We have things like sharp blade, which is going to increase the attack of that formation. So yeah, it's going to be really good, some really good buffs there. Before I get into the commander unique equipment, I do want to talk about the gear just a little bit more. So, with gear, there is going to be refinement levels. Now, this refinement is going to have a new effect where it is going to increase the amount of attack up to 100 points more. I don't know if it's going to initially fully affect the commander's attack skill points. I don't think that's how it's going to work. It's going to be more of like an extra attack buff. So that's how refinement is going to work. The devs only briefly touched on that when we talked about it in the interview. So there is definitely subject to change and things like that. But there will be refinement in the new gearing system, guys. Now, let's go look at commander gear. So commander gear is super strong. It is going to be definitely a big attributing factor in winning battles in the new battling system, which we'll do a full battle breakdown system soon in the video. So as you can see, we have things like commander's command, focus, and unit damage. So you're going to get huge effects buffs like that. Now, some of the sub-skills need to be reskilled in that. So they're a bit of a mess at the moment. So there will be fixes there. So the actual skills will work with the new formation battling system. So there will be refinement on the gear as well. If we go to my Gandalf the Grey's Wizard Smoking Pipe here, you can see that it's increasing things like damage, attack, focus, and command. And then we have leader of the free folk. So for example, let's see at the moment, this says when 3 armies are comprised of units of 3 different races, it reduces this formation's damage by 10%. So how that's going to work now when they kind of change that. So let's say you have a full army of 4 commanders and units. If you have in that formation of the 4 units 3 different of the unit races, you're going to get that damage reduction on that formation reduced by 10%, and that's going to go for the entire battle. So that's going to be really good for like Gandalf the Grey. So with these in particular skillings, or I should say more of the stat buffs from the gear, it's definitely opportunity of which ones to use on each commander. So for like Gandalf, for example, if we just go back into my commander section and go to actual Gandalf the Grey, with the gear that I have, it's really good to have gear that's going to buff things like focus as well as attack, because his skill does have a chance of doing follow-up. So increasing the amount of attack with Gandalf the Grey is really good, as well as his damage, because the damage is going to increase the amount of damage that he's going to inflict, as well as the command, which is going to do the attack and damage of the commander's formation. So that's why you want to pick what gear is going to work really good. It's more of a better look if you look at my Gandalf the White here. You can see that all my gear has good focus attributing buffs, and in turn, increasing that focus is going to increase the amount of focus damage that I do, because I'm working to the strengths of my commander's skills, where he does a lot of focus damage, as you can see in the skilling here that I quickly show you. So that's basically how the new gearing and old gearing system works. We will be talking a bit more about gear, on how you can do all the breakdown and stuff like that in exchange system, as well as a refund system very soon. Closer to the end of the video, you'll be able to see that in the breakdown of the video if you want to jump to that next. Otherwise, we're going to go talk about the new energy system now, guys. Okay, so the next section we're going to talk about is the new energy system, guys. So in the PBE, you currently have a pool of 900. Now, this is affected by the ring stat at level 30, which is called enormous power, which gives a plus of 300 energy limit, with a base of 300 would typically be 600. But in the PBE, we also have a bonus which does give a max energy plus 300, giving us a pool of 900. Now, this will be subject to change. I did talk a lot with the developers about this, because I do feel this is a limiting factor to the game for those very big players that are very active. You can run out of energy very fast because of the amounts of energy it takes to do certain tasks that we're going to be looking at now. But this will be subject to change. They have taken all of our advice on board and all of our feedback, and they do know that there could be some adjustments, whether they do things like possibly increasing the energy pool, or doing things like reducing the amount of energy that it takes for certain tasks. So as you can see, it's all just going to be one big system now, and all your commanders and formations are just going to run off this one energy pool. So each commander is not going to have their own amount of stamina anymore. Stamina is going to be completely removed. Now, whether they'll add pay features where you can buy like energy pots and like that. So I'm guessing they'll probably do that with a limiting fact of you can't buy so many in that, because they did say straight up that they don't want the game to be complete pay to win and just absolutely destroy the game like that. You can buy gear in that and get advantages, but things like buying troops and stuff like that, and speeding up troops and doing things like that, is going to just be way too overpowered. So you can see there's things like with the march, move, sweep, gather, mind sharpening, rally, marshaled marches, extract, clairvoyance, long march, quick march, and treatment you're going to be using from that full stamina pool. But like I said, these are subject to change. I feel like they're using too much. Like, I feel like march should be reduced down to possibly 10, and I feel like even 900 is not enough for all those big active players. I feel like the big active players should not get affected. If you guys want to put more time and effort and play the game, you shouldn't be affected by that. You should be allowed to have fun, and not just catering for the newer players that might be a casual player and that's basically how it's going to work. So yeah, hopefully there's going to be a lot of changes done to the energy system, because I do find it limiting even in the PBE, but that's what tests are for, and the developers are taking all of our feedback on that, so hopefully adjustments and changes will be made to the energy system. So we're going to talk about the new barracks system and units. So basically the new barracks system is very simple. You just level up in your building section as normal. Now it's going to have a filter now where you can filter out whether you want to find a certain race, for example, or a certain attack type or tier. So it's quite useful. I do like that filter there. Also, which we touched about before, with the unit sizing of small, medium and large. If you did skip that part, you can go back and check it out, but basically there is small units, medium units and large units now, and they all counteract each other in battle. So basically all you have to do is just go in here when you've got your amount of resources that you want, and you're able to just slide the bar across and conscript, and at a max level you can conscript up to 5 armies at a time. They will also show, like at this time now, looks like there's going to be no hiring anymore kind of thing. You will still need to get camps like Oathbreakers and that, but once you have them, you can just conscript them in here and it will use the amount of gold as such. So yeah, the barracks system is very simple, easy to the point now. And you can see your supply up here of how much is your total barracks supply, up to 140,000. So you can use a lot more troops than you used to be able to, because the formations now have 4 units per command. So the units themselves are the exact same. You level them up and unlock them. Now, as you will see, there will be a lot of skill changes and such. If we just go into a random one, like these guards of the towers here, you can see that they have a melee attack, so they prioritize melee units. And it's going to be the same for the archers. As you see, they will prioritize a certain army. If we go in and I show you the archers or the march wardens, you can see that it attacks random enemy units here. So melee and range have different effects now. Now the skills have changed. If we do go back here at the guard of the tower, for example, you can see that now the damage dealt to mounted units are plus 10%, and the damage received from enemy mounted units minus 7. So these are a lower amount now. Now, I did talk to the developers about this. This is still in the works at the moment. Whether gold and being able to level up these skills is not known yet. So I can't say whether or not you will be able to level these up with gold, and whether there'll still be bosses in the game. Hopefully they will be, because bosses are very useful at obtaining gold as well. So yeah, that's basically just the troop changes that have pretty much happened, as well as the unit size and the countering system, which I talked about before. And that's pretty much it for the troops and barracks systems. We are now going to talk about ring and map changes. So if we go into our ring here, so you can see certain things are still the same, like dominance, your might and everything. Dispersal will be used at the start when you need to get rid of the cloud and stuff like that, and then it becomes pretty much irrelevant. It's never used again. And then you move on to the energy pool, which is going to have the energy buff. Then you're going to have your special skill depending on which faction you choose. For example, for Gondor, it increases stone gathering and wood gathering. So it's really good, and you've got all your gathering and all of your skills there, which are pretty much the same. We then have our XP, as well as mind sharpening, powerful sweeping, sweeping master, and XP gain for mind sharpening. It's all going to work the same with wells in that, for example, and altars. And then over here, we're going to have military fortifications. We're going to have conscription time. So not a lot of changes on the ring. Basically just things just like the enormous power and stuff like that. So not a lot of changes. The map has a few changes, nothing too big and subtle. It's pretty much the same. So it's basically going to work in a Kings of Men kind of orientation, where you have kingdoms and such. The only big changes on the map are things like the siege amount and the amount of defenders and stuff like that. Now, siege is a lot harder to do now, so they have reduced the amount of siege on certain keeps and stuff like that throughout the entire map. So they're trying to make it a bit more easier, and definitely to take into effect as well with the energy pool, it reduces the amount of attacks that people can do. The DG, for example, is only 24 million siege now. Otherwise, there's not too much really big changes with the map. It's pretty much just like a Kings of Men setup, and it's going to be working like that. And those are the changes for the ring and map features. So now we're going to talk about the new battle system and battle report system. So I've got this battle here that I want to show you. Obviously, this is completely outmatched in that because I'm way over leveled and stuff like that, and I've been playing a lot. So don't take that into consideration. This is more just about the mechanics of it and how things work. So, as you can see in the report, it's going to show you like your leading commanders at the top with the amount of troops here. This is your supply. So I had an amount of 7,940 troops. Now, I hit his Witch King that was already injured, so don't take that into effect. This is more just talking about the mechanics and everything. So you can see the amount of Commander XP and Fellowship XP that you get, and then the amount of merit that you will be able to get. Here we have broken down, so we have 3 sections. This here is going to be your commanders. This is going to be the amount of damage dealt, and this is going to be the amount of damage received. So you're going to have your commanders in the order in which you place them in their relatively slots of 1 to 4, which you can see in my formations part of the video at the start of the video if you want to see that. And basically how it works is the commander's skills are random. So if you've got a commander, for example, let's go Dane, and his commander damage attacks attack like 2 formations, it's going to be randomly attacking someone's units over on the other side. So it's going to be random. So it's taking away the ability of just focusing on one commander and destroying another commander and making it more balanced in that kind of sense. That's what the developers are trying to get through in their message, that they want to make it more random so it's not just a meta battle. So that's how the commander skills are going to work. Now, with the units, how they're going to work, it works on their skills, which we talked about before. So whether if they're going to be melee or ranged are going to be a random, so they can randomly hit someone, where melee units will only attack another melee unit, for example. That's what they will prioritize. Now, speed is going to obviously come into effect when it is in the battle report and stuff. So whether your commander speed and troop speeds are faster, that it is going to basically affect the order in which a certain commander or units do attack in the battle report. You will then also have the feature where you can have a breakdown, and it shows you the full breakdown. So it's going to show you the amount of commander damage, soldier damage, and damage received, as well as healing, as well as heavily wounded and dead units over the entire battle. As well, you can see the full breakdown if you go into the allied section. It will show you things like your commander's HP, how many units you still have left from the original amount of those units, how much damage was done by that commander in that formation, as well as the units, and the amount of damage they're both taken. So yeah, it's really good. So you can see here, like my Sealdor did 14,000 damage and my units did 19,000, where if you go to Dane, who's a damage commander, you can see he did 50,000 damage and out damaged the units. So that's how the breakdown of the battles work. Now, the system here in which you go in and see the full breakdown is just an absolute mess at the moment. We did talk to the developers. They're trying to work on this because it's very hard to understand. As you can see, I'm scrolling and I could be scrolling for a long time. So some work needs to be done there. But basically, that's how the battling system and who attacks first and everything like that works. And yeah, it's pretty simple along those paths. We're now going to talk about the new commander level reset system that's going to be implemented at the start of version 2.0. So as you can see, each army can deploy a maximum of 4 commanders, which means that tacticians' expectations for commander development in the PvE may have changed compared to the current version. To enable tacticians to customize and develop commanders accordingly to their own needs in the new version, we will provide a feature called Respect Value Reset. Your reset opportunities will be equal to the number of commanders you own at Respect Level 3 and above after the update, but this does not exceed a maximum of 12 opportunities. Respect Value Reset. Tacticians can spend 1 Respect Value Reset opportunity on a commander at Respect Level 3 or above after using it, a certain amount of respect value will be deducted from that commander and converted into a custom respect item that are returned to tacticians. For commanders initially of the legendary tier, each reset returns an amount of respect equivalent to 50 flawless respect items, demoting the commander to legendary respect level 3 plus 0 respect value at most. For commanders initially at the epic tier, each reset returns an amount of respect equivalent to 50 exquisite respect items, demoting the commander to epic respect level 3, 0 respect value at most. And for commanders initially of the mighty tier, each reset returns an amount of respect equivalent to 50 fine respect items, demoting the commander to a mighty respect level of 3 plus of the 0 respect value at most. So, the value respect system feature can be used repetitively on the same commander as long as they meet the requirements, which is level 3 of course of respect. This feature will consume respect conversion vouchers, which will be provided after the update is implemented. These vouchers are only valid for 30 days. Once these vouchers expires, they will be removed from the game and no longer be able to be used for resetting respect. Now, before I get into it a little bit more, I did talk to the developers. Now, their maximum amount of opportunities as well as timing could be adjusted. This is just what they've said, going on what they think at the moment, but those could be adjusted. So as you can see by the picture there, you can see that we have a level 12 legendary respect King Aragorn, and it has reduced the amount of him down to respect level 10, and it is times 50, which means you can see there is 15,000 respect there because each level used to be 7,500 points. So you're going to do that exchange and get that respect back. So, for example, if he was 12, you'd be able to take him all the way back down to level 3. You can't go back down to level 0, for example. But if you've only got 12 opportunities, I feel like the best way would probably be to take it off your tier 3s and level up your other tier 3s. Unless you have a really good tier 2 and stuff like that, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But like I said, with the ascension system, your tier 1s and tier 2s, and that will eventually become tier 3 legendaries pretty much. And that's basically just how the respect refund system is going to work. Now, the last section we're going to be talking in our ultimate guide video today, it's been a long one. It's going to be about the equipment. We already talked about a few things about the skill changes and stuff like that, but we're going to be talking about the brand new conversion system and reforging system and such like that. So as you can see, it says we will provide tacticians with the opportunity to convert each piece of the exquisite and flawless old equipment into a random piece of new equipment of the same rarity and slot. Tacticians can use this feature to randomly convert the old equipment. New equipment obtained through random conversion will have primary stats and set effects, but will no longer have original special effects. So it's going to basically, if you convert your old gear randomly, you're going to get one of those new random effects that I've talked about before. As you can see in the picture, right, as you can see there with the convert system, you place it in, you can convert it, and you're going to get a random new piece of gear with a random piece of effect, such as like sieging, or it could be like for increasing attack, like sharp blade, for example. Now we have equipment reforging. All exquisite and flawless old equipment obtained before the update can be reforged into new equipment in the new version. Equipment stats after reforging are determined by the stats of the old equipment. So that means if you got something like Frenzy and you want to change it over, you're probably going to get something that's going to buff like attack damage or something for your formation. Now, the special effects of the old equipment determine set effects after reforging. Tacticians can check the post-reforge effects of each equipment item before deciding whether to proceed with the reforging. So as you can see from this piece of equipment here, you can see our old Leng here with its skills and such. And as you can see the changes. Commander Might will now change to Commander Attack, for example. And instead of the unit HP, it's going to have things like Commander's command buffs now. But the big thing that it's talking about is the sub skills, and with reforging, it's going to give you the ability of what you actually want instead of random. So Might of the Elves, which used to do damage dealt, is now going to give it an effect, for example, of evasive action, which for the first 3 rounds, the formation damage received is reduced. Random conversion and reforging are only available for old equipment. You can choose either one of the following 2 options for each piece of old equipment. Random conversion or reforging equipment that has undergone random conversion or reforging cannot use these 2 features again. Worn equipment or exquisite or flawless rarities can only be used by random conversion feature. So that means like the gear that you use to strengthen and stuff like that, which has already been broken down. Now, the new and old equipment development rules. Old equipment can only be strengthened and refined by consuming other old equipment. New equipment can be strengthened using new and old equipment. The consumed old equipment will automatically be reforged into the corresponding new equipment and recorded in the equipment consumption history. However, new equipment can only be refined using new equipment only. Equipment resetting. Starting from version 2.0, each tactician will have 10 opportunities per day to reset equipment within 30 days after login. This could be subject to change, of course. Resetting equipment will return all equipment consumed to refine and strengthen it. Now, with mithril and unique equipment. In the new version, there is only one type of mithril. It is going to be changed to pure mithril golden, which is required for crafting all unique equipment for commanders. All previously crafted and refined unique equipment for mighty and epic commanders will be dismantled and converted into the corresponding flawless equipment. All of the other consumed mithril will be returned. All raw mithril blue owned by tacticians will be converted into pure mithril at a ratio of 4:1, and an impure mithril purple will be converted into pure mithril at a ratio of 2:1. Additionally, if tacticians have pure mithril converted from raw and impure mithril that was originally purchased with gems, then within 7 days after the update is implemented, tacticians can choose to convert these pure mithril back into gems. Now, there's also a small change to Marthon vouchers, in which the new version Marthon vouchers will be divided into 3 rarities. Respect items of different rarities can be converted into respect vouchers of other different rarities. Meanwhile, respect vouchers of each rarity can be used at the Marthon House Exchange to exchange the respect items of the corresponding rarity. After the update, all Marthon vouchers owned by tacticians in the old version will be converted into flawless respect vouchers, versatile by default. Additionally, within 7 days after the update is implemented, tacticians can choose to convert these flawless respect items, which are the gold ones pretty much, into the respective vouchers of other rarities. For example, if you want to use on the tier 2 or tier 1 commanders. Converted vouchers can no longer be converted again. Respect vouchers obtained in the new version cannot be converted. On a sub-note, impart wisdom function will be converted into a corresponding proportion of equipment vouchers. Tactician exchange equipment vouchers for relevant items in the Marthon house. So yeah guys, that's how the whole new system for the gearing of all the systems from resetting, and basically whether you want to do it at a random ability or you want to have a piece of new gear, or you can stick with your old gear guys, as well as how the new mithril and unique systems are going to work for the gear in the new version 2.0. But yeah, we're going to wrap up the video there guys. It's been absolutely insane long. I broke down everything that you need to know for the brand new version. It is all subject to change, so just remember that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to keep up to date with plenty of videos on the new system, as well as commander guides and stuff. I do multiple videos per year. I don't know how many I've done. I'm probably getting close to 500 now since the game started. But yeah guys, anyway, we're going to wrap it up, and until next time, peace out, EJ's out, and I'll catch you guys later. See yas.
Thousands of the EJU Army. Yeah, you guys are legends to me, so let's keep up